One takes are notoriously the hardest thing to capture in film, mostly because everyone needs to be performing at a level of excellence. The performance cannot mess up. The cinematography cannot mess up. The production design cannot mess up. Needless to say, there's lots of pressure on this, and it's also a very desirable thing to shoot as a filmmaker, because once it's done, there's no crazy editing or thoughts about post. What you get is what you get. So myself, Matt, Charlie, and Jackie decided to go out and capture a one-take horror film. We want to see if we could do this in the span of a couple hours on the night before Halloween. I'll save you some time. This was incredibly hard to do. Not only are one takes hard to orchestrate and figure out, so are horror films with timing, pacing, blocking, and we decided to shoot ourselves in the foot by shooting all of this also on an ultra wide angle lens. We got our star, Jackie. She's back on the show.
I quit for a while, but they brought me back.
Welcome back. And then we got Charlie on the show too. What?
I just stood right in front of you guys and the camera.
And just farted. And I was hoping that this was the safest spot in the room. And not only did the camera catch it, but all the mics caught it.
So Matt filmed this entire thing with Charlie standing beside me, and I never brought up the fact that was there and he was standing on it. So in the video, it just looks like he's super tall. Okay, so the idea is to do like a one-take movie where basically we start outside. I'm on the one wheel. I wheel up to the front of the house. You close the blinds right at the window. And when they close, we cut there, and then we cut to inside the house. And then the camera tracks you through the house.
Let's pick up with her as she's walking home on the phone with her friend. She was nervous on the phone.
Are these separate audio tracks, or is there just going to be one track of...
Sweet chili D, for Christ's sake.
This might not be the best mic choice, but it's the most convenient one.
Stomach.
So let's start with the biggest complication of this film, which was the lens. We decided to shoot this on the Voltrox 13mm f1.4 or 1.2, I don't really know. This was to emulate the look of the movie Longlegs. I loved the cinematography of this, and you can tell a lot of it was shot, if not all of it was shot, on a wide angle lens, which means there was a lot of work, not because they did long takes, but because everything was seen in frame, which adds to the horror. There's just long takes where they show the full frame and a lot of darkness, and they're not hiding anything, which is what I liked about the cinematography of this and why I wanted to try and copy it for our film. There's not really enough time to really do a ton of exposition, so instead of decorating our house to make it look more filmic, we just decided to light it so it worked within our scene. The further I dive into cinematography and my own filmmaking, the less I care about frame rates. I couldn't tell you what format we shot this. All I know is that it's in 4K. But high ISO and having a higher f-stop with good autofocus can make a world of a difference, mostly because when you start working on a leaner setup with smaller lights and a faster workflow, you don't have time to rig these incredible huge lighting setups. And for me, I love just being able to work with small pocket lights like the Zhiyun M20 or the C100, this little tube light. I really wanted to be as nimble as possible with our filming and not to be able to see the lights. Now, when you're lighting these types of movies, it's a dance between practical and movie light. I'm not an expert at lighting, so I really just tried to keep it as looking as practical as possible. To create some dimension in our first shot, we have the practical in the foreground, which is this lantern light that we have in our dining room. I put a garbage bag behind it to be able to stop the spill on the back wall. Now, even though you can kind of see it in the shot, I think it's totally fine. It looks like just some messy part of the house. You're really focusing on Jackie. Within the next room, we have that light hanging up top of our kitchen island, which is just the magnetic M20 from Zhiyun that I just stuck on there. Okay, so those Zhiyun lights come with barn doors, but because I'm too lazy to grab it, I just grabbed a piece of duct tape, and I'm gonna make a little DIY barn door. You just go like that, blocks the light, perfect. And then finally, I have the C100 in the very back room, spilling more of a warm tone to create some color contrast within these frames. So that way we go from warm to cool to warm, and I think it kind of broke up the shot nicely. Then I grabbed one of the X60 lights, and then I just put it on one of our shelves so that it highlighted Jackie as she was walking by. I found like there wasn't enough light hitting her face, so to keep with that cool tone, I just sort of blasted it at the wall. It created a bit of a reflection and hit Jackie's face. Then our next lighting setup was our living room, where I wanted a lot of the light actually just to be coming from our projector, and then when she turned the lights off, she would have gone into complete darkness. So to create some separation and to create almost like an exterior light coming through the wall, coming through the window, I just magnetized again another one of the 20 lights from Zhiyun and put it to blue. This feels good. All right. Great. Yeah, Jackie, Now, if you look long enough, you can totally tell there's a light there, but I think in a short, quick pass, it dissolves in the background. And a lot of the time, if you watch a feature film, they'll actually do that, and then they'll use rotoscoping and mask out that light. Now, if I really wanted to, I probably could do some simple masking, but for the sake of this project, we just made it quick and dirty. And again, I don't think it's that noticeable. Now, there's this section where she walks through the hallway, which would have been complicated to light because I wanted it to feel dark and mysterious. So what we did was we used her cell phone, and I just directed Jackie to blast the cell phone at the wall or on the ceiling or any areas to create some reflection in order to give some bounce. After shooting it a couple times, I felt like she was still in darkness, so what I did was I put this white sheet over top of me. I was too lazy to get a white shirt, and I needed some sort of bounce from when Jackie's going down the hallway, so I'm hoping she can point her light actually at me, and this can give her a little bit of light. And then finally, as she ran up the set of stairs, we do our second cut in the entire film. This was in order to kind of jump up the stairs because I don't like gimbals up a set of stairs. I don't want to see my footsteps. So we just created this elevator effect, masked it out, and then moved into the hallway.
It runs up, camera goes like this to here. Then you hold it here for a second, and then you go upstairs. So you start off here. In post, your frame is off, then it comes up, and then you match it. And then you go with them. Okay. And like if she's running, whipping around the corner, it'd be really cool to just like come up and you're already going with her.
Cool. Yeah. So for this bit, Charlie's gonna be holding this light. Follow Jackie going down. We're doing this cool effect that we talked about where the camera's gonna be going through the floor. And then the camera rushes down the hallway into the door. We go through the door, and Charlie's gonna be holding this to create some Skinamarink vibe. And go for it. And then finally, in the bedroom, we use that same pocket light. I can't believe how versatile this thing is. And we just stuck it up against the wall, and it replicated what our little light was doing. And I think just keeping your lighting simple and playing with shadow can really amplify not only your image, creating something that feels a little more dramatic, but also it creates a better shooting environment. I love being able to shoot hybrid, meaning nothing touches the ground, no big stands and rigging, and I love it when I can just migrate the camera in most frames and you don't see any sort of stands or lighting. It makes it a lot more creatively liberating, especially when you don't have a team. Fuck my fucking pan. If you are interested in using any of the lights that I talked about in this video, from the M20 that's lighting the back wall there, or the C100, which you can see right there, or the X60, which is lighting me right now, you can go onto Zhuan's website and get 20% off with their Black Friday sale starting November 18th. I highly recommend their products, especially the C100. I decided to just like tinker with a quick lighting setup with my buddy Matt, where I put it over top of him and we played around with the different colors, and we were able to create this really nice cinematic shot in no time. So if you are wanting to upgrade your filming capability, lighting is the way. So go take a look at Zhuan's amazing lights that they have available. I could not recommend them any more than I already am. And let's get back into the video. 3, 2, 1, go for it. Yeah, I think that'll be cool. So here's the... When you do a one take or long take film, especially on wide angles, you need to rehearse every single millisecond. So we spent about 3 hours before even touching the camera, making sure we knew all of the beats.
Okay, realistically, would you go into the kitchen and grab like a sharp knife?
No.
For me, like if I was a little uneasy, I have like a Brooklyn Crusher baseball bat that's like a fucking lead pipe, and I have a machete.
And I have a gun.
And I know how to hold
47.
Well,
I think
stepping up to the plate.
Revealed on camera that you were up on that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And then I get shorter.
It's like, hey Charlie, step down.
And I'd fucking crush that guy.
Do I know something weird is going on, or am I kind of like trying to justify it to myself?
Like I think you're on edge right now already.
Yeah.
Like you're on a fence.
Yeah.
She casts the blinds, then you come in.
Yep.
Follow her. It'd be it'd be neat if you start. She's going towards the kitchen, and like then it's just like.
And then TV turns on. She stops, does an over the shoulder. I tuck in here. She goes through here. I follow her. Now we're in here. And she's like, that's weird. Goes in, which then incentivizes her. She turns the TV off. She comes walking through here.
We're tracking along with her. She's still on the phone. And then as the camera comes around the corner, that thing starts to come out. And then she can go upstairs.
And then you'd see this in the background.
So I would want to go through here, and I'd actually want to go where you are, because this would be a sick, super wide shot.
Yeah.
Where the camera goes in.
Okay, in this section, we're talking about sound, which I think is the most important thing to any sort of filmmaker's toolkit. We're all going to focus on lighting, cinematography, but if there's no sound element, and not necessarily clean audio recorded on set, we just had Jackie wear the Rode, one of these Rode wireless mics, and I feathered it in underneath her wardrobe, recorded the audio directly onto the transmitter, and then also onto the camera, which synchronized perfectly. And then that was able to give me a clean track of audio from her.
No, I'm okay now.
Now, that's only 50% to think about when shooting. Really, you've got to figure out what is the sound going to sound like when the audience member is watching this. So, for example, our wide, I wanted to reveal that it was raining. So I added some rain effects in post-production and created this soundscape.
I'm inside now.
When she's going through the house, she's talking on the phone. Sound. When she goes into the living room, the TV's on. So for example, for this, I added these thunder crackles in areas that maybe it felt a little dull or wasn't entertaining enough. If you want to go out and make a one-take movie, I just recommend not doing it unless you have some sort of experience shooting anything. It seems like a great idea in theory. One, because you get to just shoot it and then it's done. But the error to that is you have to shoot it the one shot like 5,000 times in order for it to just be right. This last shot that we tried to get, we did about 10 times. We had this beautiful long take kind of running in, but as soon as there was some sort of small error, whether I panned the camera wrong,
Fuck my fucking pan.
the reveal of the monster was bad, all of it just would then disregard the 1 minute lead up and then we'd have to reset. Versus if you're shooting a regular film with cuts and stuff, you're able to just kind of like stop, rewind, the camera can still roll, and then you just pick up where you left off. With a one take, you have to pick up where you started. So the reset time takes a long time.
Great, I think that was it.
All right.
In my head, I thought we were going to be able to shoot this movie in like an hour. This ended up taking 3 to 4 times the length just because of how many times we had to reset stuff. The thing that we struggled with the most on this project was the final scare when we see the monster.
3, 2, 1, there he is.
Our favorite kind of horror is the stuff that's kind of in the background. We reference the movie Longlegs a lot, but also Insidious. There's like this one take going through the house in Insidious that I absolutely love because it's not what you should see, it's what you ended up seeing in the background, which I just think is way better storytelling for a horror film. It's the audience finding stuff, not the filmmaker throwing it in your face. And that's what we wanted to try our best with doing in this one. And that final scare, it just felt like it was too in your face. Every time we tried it, I tried moving the gimbal and the gimbal was too slow, and then I tried revealing it too much and it showed like I was just trying to show it too much. The trial and error of this took a long time, and then we ended up just kind of finalizing it on this wide shot, allowing the camera to kind of pull out and it being all shadowy in the one side, and this did a great job doing the scare.
Yeah! So sweet. Good stuff, Matt.
Good night.
And that leads me to the final stage of this project, which was post-production. Spoiler alert, we shot this in 4 takes. We added some cuts in, not because we needed to reset or do any of these big things, but mostly because it helps tell the story better. Yes, the publicity of saying something is at all a one take, or this was all real and practical and no VFX, but no one cares if the movie doesn't feel good. Charlie had a couple really cool ideas of pushing the camera through the door, which we decided to just run the camera right up to the door and then start the next take going past the door and then doing a crossfade between that and then having some sort of sound effect. Same with the staircase shot, the camera kind of lifts up and then it goes through the floor and up to the next level. If I had done this again, I would have gotten Jackie to enter frame a little bit later, sort of connect the tissue a bit better. But that's why we make short films, so we can learn. The big visual effect thing that I did on this film was masking. And the first masking shot is this shot of the window at night. I decided to mask around our house because showing the whole house looked weird, and vignetting and creating this massive vignette just around our window by making a second Lumetri layer lowering the exposure, masking the shot, keyframing that so there was just a box around our window, and then your really eyes were narrowed in on Jackie coming into frame. The other areas of masking that I did was creating the floor or when the camera lifts up going through the 2 levels. I just took a screenshot of the floor at the top of the shot, masked it into a sort of rectangular box, and then keyframed it so it moved with the floor as we were lifting up. And then the final area of masking that I did was just adding vignettes everywhere. Horror films are riddled with vignettes, and if you hire a colorist on a project, they're going to do an incredible job matching cameras and creating a look. But really why I love working with colorists is they track vignettes, creating masks around people's faces in order to highlight certain areas where the cinematographer maybe couldn't fit a light, or to narrow your eyes into something that you should be looking at rather than looking at something else. For example, the wide shot of our movie looked kind of silly because you could see the scary guy in the corner. But by creating a vignette and masking your eyes so you were just looking at Jackie, you don't see what's in the corner. Which leads me to our final jump scare, which is the monster jumping out. This shot originally looked silly. You could see Charlie's legs and it just looked like some tall guy jumping at her, which I just didn't like. So what I did was took a screenshot of the final frame and then masked Charlie's legs out. So he just looked like this floating thing. Because it's so quick, it feels more jarring. And I'm sure if you watch it frame by frame, you can totally see the mask and see the wall move. But what I thought was it looked better than seeing this guy's whole body, and it made it more otherworldly. The biggest pain in the ass, but I really think it's the secret sauce to making any movie just feel way more Hollywood. Finally, I just put a LUT over top of this. I think this was David Fincher LUT from Danny Gervitz, and just enhanced the vignette on every single frame. The lens that we had, the Voltrox, actually showed a huge vignette around it, and we just leaned into that and made that the whole look because our reference film Longlegs did that a lot in their frames, and it looked cool. So that's what we ended up going with. All of that said, let's show you the film. Let me know what you think. I'm super proud of how this turned out, how quickly we pieced it together. And yeah.
Is he still following you? Are you outside?
I'm inside now.
Do you need me to come over?
No, I'm okay now. That was kind of scary.
Johnny,
You're still afraid.
stop it now. I mean it.
I'll call you back.
Okay.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
What I'll leave you with is if you like the movie that we made, we actually used formulas to which I've crafted a sort of blueprint to make movies, and that is in our course 4-Week Filmmaker, a comprehensive guide on how to make movies from start to finish, teaching you not only the production process, but how to edit it, how to come up with the concept that are actually doable, and more importantly, the types of movies that will actually go to film festivals, get distribution, and build an audience. We dive into that in 4-Week Filmmaker, which you guys can pre-enroll in the description below. You'll get a deeper dive on not only these types of films, but also our most recent film, Rogue Wave, which I'm so excited to share with you guys. Anyways, I'll see you all in another video. Thanks for watching. I want to give a special thanks to everyone who helped out on the video, especially Matt Azzarello. He was our BTS filmmaker, and Charlie Hamilton, my right-hand collaborator, who I get to work with on so many films. Finally, the love of my life, Jackie. She is like always down to do stuff. That night, she was super busy and decided to help us shoot this crazy horror film. What I would say to you guys is a good team makes a great film.